It was hard for me. I had my brain surgery. They drilled holes in my head 3 inches deep. There's like a cell phone under my skin right here.
It was hard for us to watch you go through that.
And I just got to share this miracle called Deep Brain Stimulation. I'm able to play the guitar and rock climb and water ski and whitewater raft. And
oh, man.
I think people can learn and laugh at the same time. I might say something that brings out a smile on somebody, but right underneath it is a gem that if they listen to it, will touch them in a way that's profound.
Often referred to as my brother from another mother. Buckle up. Here we go.
Buckle up.
All right, you go first.
You go first.
You go first.
Please, you go first.
I will, Todd. I'm so excited to introduce to our audience. People may know you already. Mr. Todd Demarest, a good friend of mine I think I met you in 1987 at a volleyball tournament by random chance. And then years later, 1991 or 92 kind of thing, 1990. Met you in the ropes course training development industry. You've worked with me side by side in Odyssey for how many years ago did you move from Hawaii to Chico,
2004.
California? So in 2004, you came to Odyssey full time, but you had been working here years before. And we have so much rich history together, often referred to as my brother from another mother. I'm slightly littler brother, but I'm honored to be compared to you, to be in partnership business with you at Odyssey, to get to share you with the world, working with all of our clients, and to get to capture this conversation today. First time in the studio. So welcome, Todd Demarest.
Thank you very much. Good to be here. Fans go wild.
Woohoo! They're out there going crazy, I'm sure. So hopefully people who have seen you present will dip in and see this conversation, because you don't always talk about what we're going to talk about today. You're always a very humble presenter. You present in a way that engages the audience into an experience and a conversation that is certainly, you help make that happen, but it's not about you in many ways. And I appreciate how humble you are in that. But today I want to have some Todd time, and I want our listeners to have some Todd time. Okay.
All right.
So buckle up. Here we go.
Buckle up.
You are the topic today, and people might not know. And if you're looking at the screen right now, you see Todd just looks like, hey, every other really cool, great, 50 to 60 something year old guy. But what you don't know is that I think it was about 9 years ago. Is that correct?
Yeah, right around there.
So about 9 years ago, and you can tell more of the story. Todd started noticing he had some tremors and started investigating, and you called them your good vibrations for a long time. Ultimately diagnosed with Parkinson's. And you're sitting here today steady as can be because you've had a radical new surgery that has changed your life. Tell us a little more about when it started, even before I knew it was going on, and where you are now.
It's been crappy.
We're in the trust tree here. You can be honest. Of course, nobody wants this story.
First, the misdiagnosis was it was essential tremors, which is just like a little shake. And then about 6 months or a year later, they re-diagnosed it as Parkinson's.
Wow.
It was just like a gut punch hearing that. And Whitney, my wife, was by my side, and we sunk.
Yeah.
Sunk a little bit.
Imagine.
Well, maybe the worst part was once we kind of figured out a way is to describe it to our daughters at the time. They're 26. They were young kids. They were young girls back then. Just letting them know that I have this thing it's called Parkinson's, and I don't know if I'm going to be in a wheelchair in a couple years or not, or let's be on this ride together.
Shoo, there's probably some people, hopefully people share this story with friends that they know that have Parkinson's. I know there's different types of Parkinson's. So, what are the different types that you know of, and what did you have?
There's just mostly different symptoms. So okay. Parkinson's is a neurological disease, degenerative disease. And it does affect your speech a little bit and your mouth sometimes, and my voice, which is still there. But there's lots of different symptoms. Most people think of Michael J. Fox as kind of like, like that, called dyskinesia. There's others that cramp up your hands and your feet. Lots of different side effects from the meds, and from the absence of dopamine, it just starts deteriorating your body and what it can do.
Wow. And so the kind that you had, it manifests itself outwardly as tremors.
Yeah, that was the symptom that was bugging me the most, for sure.
Yeah. Well, obviously you work with me at Odyssey. You're out speaking. You're using your computer all the time. You're on your phone. You're presenting to audiences. Once the tremors became obvious to the audiences and started to impact your work, what was that like, and how?
Well,
how are you
thankfully,
navigating?
it was such a slow progression. So it was like being in a frog in a boiling pot of water. You don't just throw the frog right in, right?
Yeah.
You turn up the water bit by bit. That's kind of how Parkinson's was. I didn't really notice it until after a couple of years. I started it got distracting. It took energy to try and keep my body still and still stay connected with the work I was doing and the people I was engaging with.
Yeah. Well, like I said, as a presenter, you don't outwardly present like, I'm here to tell you my story. But, you would describe them as, yep, they're my good vibrations. And
I'm going to keep swinging and here we go. Let's move on.
I know, here we go. Let's go. And you just went on with amazing courage. Like, I'm a super emotional guy. So it's fun to sit with you. It's hard for us to watch you go through that, It
was hard for me. I had my brain surgery 11 months ago. And 12 months ago, I was in with a client, and they videotaped the whole session. I watched it about a month or two later, and it was hard to watch. Hard to watch me shake, hard to watch how slow I was moving, how stiff I was moving, how my face was all masked. It's called masking, where it looks like it's all Botoxed and doesn't have much movement in it. And then I was with them last week, and I just got to share this miracle called Deep Brain Stimulation surgery. And I was moving much more fluid and faster and no tremor.
Yeah. Well, I was lucky to see that video of you sharing that with them and the applause that they obviously gave you.
Yeah. That was cool.
What's the process? So educate our audience to what did they actually do to you? And how's the update that you just had?
Mostly just trusting my neurologist. She was an advocate for me to have this surgery for years. I kept waiting and waiting for the right opportunity, and I didn't want to get it too soon just for personal reasons, and because I didn't want stuff in my body, and I didn't want to get it too late and miss the curve on technology. So we think we hit a sweet spot.
Well, and I did sit down with you and your wife, Whitney.
That was about 2 days before my surgery.
Yeah, it was right before. And I wanted to try to capture your emotion and how you felt, but I can imagine you were just kind of waiting, like, can I sort of heal myself naturally? I know you tried a lot of different things, sort of cutting edge retreats and things.
There's no ending Parkinson's, but you can slow the progression. So exercise, diet, meditation, moving the body as much as you can. Parkinson's wants to constrict everything. So the more you can expand your point of view, your practices, and everything else. So I tried hyperbaric chambers, acupuncture, infrared saunas, life vessels, a whole bunch of different electronics, and because we're all energy, and Parkinson's is an energy disease. Basically, brain doesn't know how to focus or where to focus its energy.
Wow. I'm just a total beginner in Parkinson's, but obviously when you started throwing that word around, it's terrifying. And to be the one that's go like, okay, this is the next chapter of my life. How am I going to be as a person that has Parkinson's?
And I still don't know. I mean, this is how I am now, and who knows how I'll be next week or the week after. The tremor and the speed of my body and the range of motion is great, and I'm able to play the guitar and rock climb and water ski and whitewater raft and spoon with my wife without shaking. I mean, that's one of the best things. I sit on the couch and read a book or watch a TV show. And it used to be I couldn't even sit next to my wife or my kids and watch a TV show if it was exciting, because I would start shaking too much.
Wow. I know you're not alone. There are others, obviously, that are...
There might be 6 million people out there.
Wow. And here you are in California with access to some of the best doctors in the world. When you made the decision to really start going, okay, I want to apply for this procedure, and the day you got in, what was that like? And what did they physically do to you?
Well, they drilled a couple holes in my head right about here. Like little buds of antlers coming out of my head, about the size of a bottle cap. There's 2 bumps right here. They drilled holes in my head 3 inches deep. Wow. And then they put basically wire leads in each hole. And then they attached those leads together here. They brought them down to my side of my head here. All under the skin, there's basically a pacemaker. It's not a pacemaker, but it's like that. There's like a cell phone under my skin right here, about the size of a flip phone.
Wow.
The doctors can determine and decide where the directional leads are pointing in my brain, and they can determine how much energy is going out because it shoots pulses out, and how long with the duration of it. So it was pretty weird being in surgery because I'm awake for part of the surgery, so they could find out as much accurate information as possible. So at first they knocked me out so they could drill all the holes and do all the plumbing stuff. And then,
oh my God.
And then I'm knocked out, and then I feel this hand on my shoulder, and it's my doctor, and he goes, Todd, it's time for you to wake up now. We need your help. We're just trying to listen to the sound of your cells in your brain. They're listening to the sound of my cells in my brain. Get that straight.
Wow.
And
not just your inside voice, but the sound of your cells. Okay.
And they say, now you might notice a little tingling. Let us know if you feel some tingling. I go, I'm feeling tingling. It's going from my toe to my shoulder, you know. And then they tuned it up like FM dial. They tuned it as best as they could to what they thought would be the best place for the leads to go to. And they knocked me out and they closed everything up. And
they're messing with the motherboard.
Yeah,
they're in there,
and they don't know how it works. They don't know they don't know how it works. They just know that it does. That's the true story.
Oh my gosh.
They don't know why or how it works.
So like a cochlear implant and things like that, as soon as they get out, they like flip a switch and bam, they can hear. How did that work? Okay, you wake up.
You wake up and there's a honeymoon phase for a little while. Your brain is just relaxed because of the surgery and everything, and it's healing. So I noticed things right away. Basically.
This is a 24-hour honeymoon. What are we talking about? A week?
A week or
where
so.
So they've
they
already
don't turn it on.
Switch.
They don't turn it on.
Turned it on. So I'm still. Tremors are the same. You're healing, and they're like, all right.
Tremors are better.
Tremors are better immediately.
Yeah, not as good as they could get or as good as they will be.
Yeah.
But they're better. So then I went home, and then about 2 weeks later came back, and they turned me on, and that was wild because then I still had the shake a little bit. And then they turned me on, and I just totally stopped shaking. And they say, let's try your left side of your brain, because each lead does your one side and the other side of your body. And they say, let's turn it up on your right side. And my right side starts shaking. Let's try the left side. Let's turn the right side off. And then I was at my neurologist last week at UCSF, Dr. Jill Ostrom. Yay, Dr.
Shout out to Dr. Jill.
And my surgeon, Dr. Starr, Shining Star for UTC. But anyway, she turned me off. I don't know if it was by accident or it was just in part of the way she did it. But she turned it off, and my body started. I just started shaking like this.
Wow. What a thing to be. I mean, wouldn't that be cool? In all our lives, we could go, what would I be like if I hadn't done this?
Right.
What would it be like if I had continued that relationship or taken that job, like to just visit it for a second?
Right.
I'm sure you were like, okay, turn it back on. I'm ready to.
And I interviewed a few people that had the surgery before me to see what their thoughts and experiences were, and it seemed good. And I trust my doctor totally.
Yeah.
But then a friend of mine is considering having the surgery, but he was asking me a month ago how it was for me, and it's kind of like that thing. Like I don't want to tell him it's the best thing since slicing, because
just in case, yeah.
Just in case. So it's kind of awkward to describe to people. But for me, it's been a miracle. It's changed my life dramatically. And the Parkinson's is still progressing. It's still hard for me to write. It's hard. Just my writing turns into scribble.
Okay.
My voice, I can't sing like I used to sing and play the guitar all the time. And my voice can't hold a pitch or a tune for very long. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's raspy and dry. Sometimes it's hard for me to find the right words that I want to use right away. Mm-hmm. So cognitively, there's some stuff. And rhythm, it's hard for me to keep a rhythm going. Just a steady rhythm without speeding up or slowing down.
That's most of the people in the world, so you're okay. You're so far above average. I mean, you're hearing it. Todd plays guitar, sings beautifully, is an amazing leader. And people who have seen you speak, the idea that you can't find the right words is probably completely foreign to them, because you do find the right words. Like,
that's nice.
You're really good at what you do.
Thank you, Lain.
Yeah. And to kind of segue, obviously, I appreciate you peeling it back and giving people a taste of what you've been through. Everybody's been through stuff.
Everybody's got a story.
Yeah. And you're amazing at not making it about your story, but I think your story is really important for, like, I have dear friends, Cho Yoder, who I hope to get here someday, and she's such a beam of light. She's this amazing mindfulness teacher and all this great stuff. Everybody knows and loves her. Nobody knows that 2 of her brothers died in a horrible car accident and all this stuff. And you start hearing these things, you're like, How do they walk with such peace and joy when they've been through so much? And like you said, it can go away. You know, we hope that this continues for the rest of your life by managing your symptoms. But we know that, you know, it will be with you the rest of your life. And these are tough things to carry.
So I could look back and see like what caused it or why me, but what's that going to do? I just keep my head up and my heart open and keep moving in the world.
Yeah. Well, listen, thanks for the gift of this conversation. And like I said, you know, this is an invitation for people to get to know more about who Todd is, what you've gone through. Of course, people with Parkinson's, like you say, a friend of yours is going through. I know you want to be a resource to people. You're definitely, as what your neurologist said, the poster child for this procedure. I hope that you can continue to give hope to people who may be in a hopeless place right now, where maybe you felt years ago before you realized what it could be like.
Thanks. Yeah, me too. Hope it does some good for somebody.
Yeah. Well, you're not one to just sit idle, like you said. You know, hey, let's just get busy living or get busy dying. You know,
these are the good old days right now.
They are. And so things I see you do, you know, you're on your skateboard, you know, going down some hill over in the North Bay where you live, up by Santa Rosa in there. And you have, I don't know, how many million miles do you have just on United?
3.1.
So Todd, when he's on a flight, he pretty much gets upgraded every time. He'll get like a handwritten note from the pilot, like, hey, thanks for all the miles. They'll bring it back. So, you know, just on United, 3.1 million. So you've been around the world, you know, thousands of times, spoken in front of thousands of groups since 1987. And I think before that, even just knowing that you're the kind of person that sets an example and wants to inspire people to walk in that way. And so let's segue to like, how did Todd get to be Todd when it comes to presenting? Who were some of your early mentors in training and development? Who inspires you to this day around when you're in front of a group? And what, we'll just start with that. Who are some of your mentors that inspired you to, and teach you maybe to this day?
Gosh, facilitating program mentors would be a team of people I worked with the Sports Mind and Human Potential Project. They were world-class facilitators, and they came from various backgrounds, but I got to be in the room with them. I just soaked them up, and learned, took a little bit of this, a little bit of that from them. And it's so funny because I could list their names, but
you might forget a few. Yeah, that's fine.
Oftentimes when I bring them into the room with me, so I'll say a quote that they always used to say, or I'll do an activity that they always used to do, or I'll move my body in a certain way. It's really fun to bring people in the room with me, and no one knows it but me.
Yeah.
So my mentors are with me wherever I go.
Yeah, I feel that, and this platform is to basically have my mentors, you being one of them, so people to get to learn from the people I've learned from. And start a relationship with them. They can find you on LinkedIn and Facebook or wherever. And, you know, you write blogs for us and we do lots of videos and things to try to keep this connection going besides just the couple of hours, 2, 3, 4 hours that you get with groups. I know some of your early work, you were working with groups 5 days in a row, maybe on really extensive, in-depth human potential projects or human development with Capital One in their infancy.
Exactly.
You know, I know Pac Bell back in the whole new ball game, I think with AT&T. You know, you were a real pioneer in experiential learning. And you've been with us in pioneering philanthropic team building as we build bikes or prosthetic hands or skateboards and all of those sort of as this, you know, Trojan horse of like inspiration and learning and self-awareness. What are some of your goals when you step in front of any group in any environment? What are you trying to like leave them feeling or thinking?
Well, I think people want to be good people. They're just waiting for a place to be good people. And I think I like to try and create a space for people to show up and be their best selves. Someone asked me that the other day, and I came up with, this would never sell on a website, but it'd be kindness, awareness, and belonging. I think the world could use those three things more and more and more. And people, as we get spread apart, even though we have all the technology, people are more alone, they're more anxious, they're more off center than they've ever been in their lives as a culture, as a race, that we need to be more kind and be more self-aware and how we're moving in the world and have a sense of belonging to those that we care about.
Yeah. Well, clearly you do that. You know, you connect everybody in the room, not just to each other, but to their organization and to the impact they want to have on the world. You know, you bring those things to life through fun and engaging and, you know, fish it back to them.
I think people can learn and laugh at the same time. A lot of people say, gosh, I didn't know you were so funny. And I think right underneath, I might say something that brings out a smile on somebody, but right underneath it is a gem that if they listen to it, will touch them in a way that's profound.
Yeah. So pop quiz, what are some Toddisms that you find yourself repeating to groups, just so people who don't get to see you present live? What are some of the like...
One that comes to mind, I was talking to my daughter the other day, and she's working for a job interview for a new career path. And I just thought someone flaked on her. And I just said, everybody flakes. And hi, I'm a fallible human being. I flaked before, you know. But the one thing that I'd say is that want each other to do well. If you just want each other to do well, everything else is going to work. Yeah. You know, it might take a little time, but if you have that being your intent, everything else is going to work. Mm-hmm. So that's the one that I feel the most strongly about. Yeah.
Well, in a brief, you know, obviously you've been married for a little longer than Gene and I, like in 30 plus years.
Same year, 31 years maybe.
Yeah. Brother from another mother. And 2 daughters that are, you know, in their early 20s, finding their career paths and relationships. And any boys trying to breach the castle? We got to like,
there's boys,
the
and
drawbridge up.
It's kind of weird having them spend the night on the couch or not. You know, like,
well, we walk that path together.
Yeah.
It turns out it's not as hard as difficult as I thought it might be to go, you know, I kind of like these people. I get why the like silver haired guy or, you know, parents are sitting in the middle of like, you know, 27 people on the beach with this big grin on their face going, I started this with my wife, or, you know, how their life unfolds. It's pretty exciting to be at this place. And, that brings me to like, maybe we can do this forever, or at least until we, you know, can barely get on a stage or find our words. But, you know, what's next, or what, any big career kind of dreams that you have as you're looking at kind of, all right, what do I want to keep doing, or what do I want to add to the mix?
Well, Whitney, my wife of 31 years plus, or whatever it is, would probably agree with this. Like I like to take things as they come. Mm-hmm. I'm not a big planner. I don't know what's going to happen, but I know how I want to be and how I want people around me to be, more than what's next.
Give us how do you want to be? Like,
I just want to be in a place where people are having fun and adventuresome and caring for each other and looking after each other and, you know, just expressing themselves fully and enjoying life as best as they can.
You know, you brought up like want each other to do well, which sounds so like, oh yeah. You know, and we're in the business of looking at ourselves and human behavior and reflexive patterns that are either, you know, born into us or learned. Why is that so difficult for people? Why is there a sense of maybe scarcity when it comes to being recognized or being promoted? Why would someone not want someone else to do well, you know? And what's getting in the way of some of these like
ego,
isolation, stress that people have? Because there isn't a lot of evidence we're heading in the right direction, unfortunately, as a species.
Well, I think people, that's a great question. I think people maybe don't want each other to do well, not consciously, but because they're busy. They're running around like they're putting out fires and they're chasing rabbits, and they're forgetting why they're doing what they're doing or who they affect by their behaviors, and they're making stuff up, and they're just doing their best to survive rather than to slow down and be present, open, and connected to who they are first, and then who they're with and how they're connecting with the other people. Yeah.
Well, you kind of said it in that tiny gem, like you said, of like, well, everybody flakes. Like perspective, you know, benefit of the doubt, you know, being like, I'm not perfect either. And
or here's another one, grant sincerity.
Yeah.
What if you just did that?
Yeah. I know I had that wake up call when I was going to radiation. My wife would be driving me. It's like somebody cuts us off in traffic. I'm like, well, maybe they're going to radiation. Like you don't know where they're going. You don't know where they're coming from. You just had a moment interaction with them. And it wasn't perfect. All right. I've had those. Bad day. Parents, our parents are aging. I know your dad passed away a number of years ago. Just a great role model to you.
Yeah.
Your brother's a big impact on you. Tell us about your family. Like, what was it like growing up as Todd? Like, who was at the breakfast table?
My brother and I, we were having breakfast together before we went to water polo practice before school started. And my dad was a pilot for Pan Am, so he was home or he wasn't. And my mom was a great mom, stayed-at-home mom, and she'd make our lunches in our brown bags for us. And but it was weird emotionally. I think my brother was he was the emotional one and wanted things to be alive and vibrant and like that in the house. And I was more like play it steady, play it cool.
That might be our relationship in some ways.
And so my brother brought the emotion to the house. And I brought the steady keel to the house. Yeah. Because my dad was, at least the first part of growing up years, my dad, I always say, he had the emotional range of ho to hum, So I kind of had to learn how to, like, I'm envious of the moisture wicking off the corner of your eye. I can't access that as easily as you can yet.
I like that you threw the yet in there. And I, this about me, but sometimes I wish I didn't. I wish I could just get some lines out, and not have it. I've got to a point where I just keep going because I can't even it just like breathing for me. I'm just,
and it's like me.
You
gotta keep going when you're shaking. You got to keep going.
Yeah. It's like after cancer, I just got even more all right, well, I'm alive and emotion reminds me I'm alive. Let it go. A lot of people, I'm sorry, I'm this, or I'm sorry, I'm that. This is who I am. And that's who you are. Like you said, this steady, even keel. And I rely on that. Everybody at Odyssey relies on that. That's your superpower is that at the same time, and Bob Petrello, a guest on the show, hey, a strength taken to excess can be our weakness.
Absolutely.
And how do we find that sweet spot? And it's so situational. There's a time when, hey, that maybe that immediate critical and hey, when in doubt, danger. And then, but now I bring in the other side of me. And I know you're good at inviting people to learn and grow without making them wrong for who they currently are. It's one of the gifts that I see that you bring to everybody.
Thank you. Yeah. I think if we can all look at ourselves and laugh a little bit, that's the first start, and realize that I'm not the only one. Bridge has been crossed by others before. Mm-hmm.
Well, I have a question that I don't get to ask anybody because it's unique to you because you've been a part of Odyssey since the beginning. And even before I was involved, before Odyssey was a thing, you worked with Bill John, my business partner, in delivering work like this. And when we were able to move you from Hawaii to Odyssey, we had just landed a huge contract with Saturn, the whole, if the people don't fit together, the cars won't either, and surprise and delight. And we delivered our bike program around the world or around all of the US. We were able to attract you to come into the Odyssey fold. It was one of the greatest joys possible. And we've been, I don't know, how many years ago did you come in full time at Odyssey?
2004.
That's so 20 years ago. That's so awesome.
Well, it's crazy.
It is crazy.
My neighbor is working for the from Santa Rosa County, and he retired last week. And I said, "How long are you working there?" And he goes, 25 years. And I go, "That's a long time." And then I went, "Wait a minute."
Oh my gosh.
I'm right on his heels.
Amazing. Well, I feel lucky we've been able to attract you to the company, keep you here, have you be just a part of the, the BLT, the Bill, Lain, Todd. We are kind of the three amigos that get to lead almost all. Well, a lot of the programs for Odyssey. Of course, we have Frank and Sarah and Cynthia and others out there, and Jonas and Jeremy. And I don't want to forget anybody. A team that goes out and helps us, supports us when we're the front person, or leads them themselves. What are some of the things you're the most proud of that we've done at Odyssey?
Gosh,
what keeps you here? What gets you excited about what we do?
Just the culture that we have and the vehicle that's available for me to shine a light around the world a little bit in my own way. The work we do is creates, like I said, people want to be good people. So I think Odyssey team, the intact team, office staff and HQ staff, and the field staff are all want each other to do well, and we exhibit that and exude that intent. And that's the main reason why I'm still here, I think. And just you and Bill as leaders, your love and your heart and your wisdom, and so that's right up there near the top, if not the top. And I'm proud of just how you guys have branded the company and how we are first class offering to the world.
This doesn't have to be like station identification. This is what's cool about Odyssey. You know, I appreciate you saying those things, and obviously it inspires me too. I think we've got it. We try to practice what we preach. You know.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of there's a lot of independent consultants out there that can roll into a company and, you know, give their spiel and then go back to their house and they're working by themselves on booking the next gig. And I always took a lot of pride that we have HR and we've hired and fired and we've had team buildings and we've had meetings that were challenging us, and we've went through COVID together, and like, are we going to keep everybody? How do we keep everybody? And we understand what it feels like for companies to think we need some leadership. We need better decision making. We need to look at our budget perspective. We need to like run a business. I think it has helped us be better for the clients that we serve.
Yeah.
What would you say is like, and this is a personal question, as far as like, what's the secret to your success relationship wise? In the spirit of, you know, people are getting more disconnected, you know, they don't have tight communities, their marriages, their families, their connections with their kids. You know, what's some of the secret sauce you and Whitney have found along the way to keep you, and knowing that you travel a lot, you commit a lot to your business and to your clients. You know, I don't know, some advice for people out there. Obviously, we know you went through Parkinson's and you're in that journey still. But just what's the day-to-day? How do you stay connected?
I just find time to slow down and connect with where I am and what's going on with me. And then that enables me to connect with other people. Just to see them and not be in a hurry, to ask one more question or to pause for a minute after they say something. Just create openings. I think. And
that's the practice you have at home with your family. Like I said, this is like to you and Whitney and your kids. And
like you said, that practice you said at the start before we turn the cameras on, that detail, emotion, advance. I could get better at that for sure. Because Whitney will say like, "How was your day, Todd?" "Good."
She's all detail.
Right.
So the game is like when somebody's talking to you, you can interrupt them at any point with those words. I can say detail, I could say emotion, and you have to tell me how it felt today. And if I say advance, then you got to tell me something else in the day.
Right. Yeah. So I'm going to teach Whitney that, because I don't want to be a robot. So, you know, like, so I don't want to be Spock. But so sometimes I need guidance. Like I'll tell you or Whitney or anybody anything they want to know. I just want to know what you want to know, because it doesn't come off my tongue to share what I'm feeling or the details unless I'm prompted.
Yeah.
So that's how I'm wired.
Well, you are literally wired. Your brain is wired.
I'm wired.
But, you know, you do a cool activity where you have people point and, you know, go in a clockwise direction, you know, and they're pointing at the sea. And then now they point at you and go clockwise, which, you know, show me clockwise, which means I need to turn the other direction. And that's a simple physical way to say exactly what you just said. Like, I'm trying to provide for you to be the husband you want, or to talk about things you care about, or to connect with you in a way that's important to your business or your team or yourself. But I don't really know what that is until I start seeing your perspective and thinking, oh, that's what you're up against. Okay.
One of my great Toddisms, I think is great, is I learned it from a friend of mine, is like, I can see how you can say that. So if someone says something just totally off the wall, my response silently in my head is, I can see how you can say that. And when I say that, I'm looking for at least the 1% that could be valid, you know, that could be useful.
Well, I'm selfishly don't want to end the conversation, but I know our friendship is going to go on for our lives.
For sure.
I'm honored to be able to say that. And to people who might catch this show, I hope they do, and I hope they share it with people who are struggling with Parkinson's or just struggling to be present and find themselves not wanting people to do well and wondering why. You know, what is missing from who I am. You know, somebody said to me the other day, defensiveness is just a sign of insecurity. I'm like, simple, like, okay, every time I feel that, why is that triggering some insecurity in me? And I know we not only provide maybe those one-liners, but that experience to connect some emotion and some awareness to that thought. And, you know, today we got up and cold plunged and we got in the pool and, you know, put ourselves in a very uncomfortable place thinking it was good for us. And I do that practice because that's what I ask people to do when I'm communicating, when I'm trying to teach them, like, hey, just take a deep breath and let's be uncomfortable for a little while and know that we're going to stimulate something in us that's going to help us be better.
One of my favorite quotes is, life either expands or contracts depending on one's courage. And I was at a program a month or so ago, and one of the participants said, do it scared. Meaning, like, even if you're outside your comfort zone, do it anyway. I thought that was kind of cool. Do it scared.
Yeah. Well, that's what a lot of people are scared. A lot of people are isolated, like we were talking about, whether it's social media or whether it's just the environment they grew up in, and really recognizing that being courageous is just part of it. You know, getting your surgery, you know, standing in front of every group and just putting yourself out there, it takes a lot of courage, and to do it scared, I think is just part of, you know, to love completely, you got to risk completely, you know, to help relay a message. Somebody said one time in a feedback form, like, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And the feedback form said, but you can make him thirsty first. And he said, you made me thirsty. And I thought, wow, you know.
My friend says you can inspire somebody, you can entice somebody, or you can intimidate somebody, but you can't motivate them. You can only inspire, entice, or intimidate.
Yeah.
The motivation comes from me making that choice.
Yeah. Well, I'm over the moon, thankful that you made the choice to sit down today and have this conversation.
Me too.
To come to Odyssey, to be my friend, to be in that volleyball tournament in 1987 where we were in the same pool randomly and then met years later. There's no accidents. You know, life is giving you these opportunities all the time to discover people and discover things about yourself. And you've been a huge mentor and example and a friend to me for a long time.
Thanks, Lain.
Yeah. So I hope that everybody enjoying the show today got to know Todd Demarest a little better. And I hope that you get to be in his presence someday, more than this, and see how he moves in this world. And of course, if you're struggling with things that we've talked about today,
reach out,
right? Don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm here too.
Exactly. So,
thanks, man.
Thankful, Todd. I love you, brother.
Love you too.
Yeah. Awesome. Woohoo. Yeah. Thanks, bud.
Thanks for listening to another episode of You Go First. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you want to listen to another episode, you can find us at yougofirst.live, or you can see more about our host, Lain Hensley, on his Instagram at OneDreamChaser. To learn more about his company, Odyssey Teams Inc., go to odysseyteams.com or follow all their social media channels at Odyssey Teams. Thanks again, and we hope that you will go first to share our podcast with a friend or colleague. Now, you go first.
Don't forget to like us on the button below. Follow us by clicking the bell. You'll get all future episodes, as well as you can certainly find the podcast on the audio version everywhere where podcasts are found. So we're looking forward to the next episode. Got a lot of really exciting guests coming up. Thanks for watching.